Hey everybody, it's Jason here, and a conversation we have in my community from time to time is how we actually use our tools. And something I frequently say is I don't actually demonstrate how I use my tools when I'm doing videos because I think it's overwhelming. I thought I would show everybody here and you can see for yourself. Do you think me peppering this stuff into the rest of my content would be beneficial, or would it get in the way? So what we've got here is my desktop as I normally use it, and I've installed a little tool so you can see the keys I press. So hello from Jason. And if I press certain keys like spacebar or backspace, you'll see those as well. So let's use a practical example. Let's say I'm working on a Unity project. And so I'll be over here working on something. And as you saw, I jumped to it using a keyboard shortcut. Now, the way I do that is if I bring up the Power Toys, you'll see that under the keyboard manager, I've just bound a bunch of keys to different ones I use, and we'll kind of go through those as we go. So if I'm here working in Unity and I want to do something over my code editor, I can jump over to Writer. Now, while I'm in Writer, I happen to use Vim mode. I'm not going to go into too much craziness there because it does get pretty crazy if you're not familiar. The basic idea is I can jump to sort of the low parts of the script, the highest parts of the middle. I can say go up or down a certain number of lines. If I want to navigate by elements, I can basically jump between the different individual script components. I can find certain words, or maybe I want to say find the word key and then jump between every instance of the word key, so on and so forth. You get the idea. It's also great for modifications. So say I want to replace the contents of these brackets, I can just do that, and I can remove and replace the contents of the brackets. If I want to highlight from where I am down to the capital T in tick, for example, I could say do that and then select down to T, and I can select all of that and then delete it. I basically have all that set up in a vimrc remap, and this is just a quick scan of the ones I happen to use, but again, that's personal preference. Oh, and if you're wondering how I'm doing that as well, basically if I can we'll do a split, and I'll head back over here and go back to code, for example. As you can see over here, I've got all of these different remaps that do different kind of useful tools for how I navigate my Writer configuration. So say I'm over here and I want to just sort of go to the letter P, so I say FP and I jump to the word previous, and maybe I want to see what the normal kind of refactoring pop-up looks like for that. If I press space, I've left on this thing for key maps. It shows you all the different key maps I've got assigned. I'll usually turn that off for myself, but I'm demonstrating it here. So what you can do is jump to DA, which will show me the encapsulated fields, and I can then go through and modify different values. Same with navigation. If I want to jump to a different file, you'll see here, this is all of the components in the file. So the tick function, previous, held, and so on. And then you can jump down to different scripts. So say I want to go into the start script. So now I'm over here, and because I'm using the buffers, I can jump back and forth between those scripts as I'm working on them. And then, of course, because we have our split over here, I can jump over to this split and theoretically open up new tabs in here and do different stuff, or just close it out altogether. But it's not just this, because that's what's called the vimrc. Well, idea of MRC because it's the Writer implementation. But if I'm in, say, Obsidian, I do use Vim over here, so same thing. I can write otherwise, and I can jump to every instance of that, and modify things here, delete lines and so on, undo that and whatever. But I'm using a different Vim file for that because there's different configurations I would like over there. And of course, you could say the same thing with command line, for example. So if I'm over here in my terminal window, so if I full screen that, I can do something similar. I can basically say, let's go with split here, and we'll open up, let's go Vim into the profile. So this is the profile for PowerShell. And I've got a bunch of shortcuts. So you saw me press V there for Vim. And so if I head back over to the other split, it's basically different commands I've got. So I've got AI, for example. So I could say write a poem about wombats. And after a second, it should come back and write me a poem about wombats. And it was a bit slow the first time. The reason being it's not running the remote AI. It's actually running a local one I have on a different machine. So I can clear that and I could say write a poem about ducks. And that should be a bit quicker. As for what I'm using for that, that's actually using a different tool. So I have this thing here called Misty. It wasn't open, so this is a bit slower. But basically, I don't run this on this machine. I actually run this tool on a different machine, and I have a set of models that I can switch between. And if I go to the demo portion, yeah, you'll see here I've got all sorts of models, some of the remote ones, the Anthropic ones, etc. But then I've also got my local models running. So when I register, I can connect to the ones I have on my other machine and run, say, the Llama 3.5 or something. And at the moment, I just have that piped over to this one. So yeah, that's currently running, but it's running on a different machine. Yeah, and basically you get the idea. Same, I've got splits over here. I can do the same thing. I can do other splits. Maybe I want to open up Git here. And then I'm using this thing called lazy Git. And that might be hard to see. So let me sort of cycle between some alternate wallpapers. Maybe let's go solid black. Yeah, let's go solid black. That's just a basic idea. So I can work with stuff here. And similarly, I can close these and I can go back to the normal splits. And if I want like a full screen chat GPT thing, I can do that as well. Hello world, and it'll do a chat and so on. But what else we got? Oh, browser. Let's go with XKCD. XKCD. So I could be sitting here looking at this, and I want to create a new tab, and then maybe I'll just say cats are cool, do a Google search, and then I can tab back and forth between the different, those different tabs for the searches. And maybe if I go to Substack, for example, as in a different example. So what's cool is while I'm navigating here, I have a similar sort of Vim commands tool that means I can basically jump to any part of the screen. So if I want to jump, if I press DL here, that'll open up that particular post, and I can then scroll through, and I could then navigate to different links if I wanted to, or head back, and then as I go down again. And also same rules apply here, by the way. So I can go low or high or medium or whatever, and then I can bind my own keys and so on. Did I miss anything? Oh, music, I suppose. I do Spotify over here, and I use something called Spicify for custom configurations on Spotify, so I don't normally like how it looks. And I use FX Sound for modifying the sound effects and things. What else before I go? Oh, I don't think I showed actually some of the cool writer stuff. One benefit about programming your own effective IDE is you can really customize the sorts of features that you want to expose. A good example of that would be if I am here and I jump 2 words over to current and I want to say find every usage of this, I can press the U key and it'll give me every instance of that that's currently active. Then there is, see, I've shown fast jumping, I've shown, I've got, I guess, refactor. I guess I can do a refactoring in line. I'm pretty sure I showed the other edits. Let's see, anything else? The normal light bulb thing, you can do the refactoring here, the standard appearance. Oh, there's also, if I do a split and have a look at a different example here, the normal tab flow lets you do your picker. So you can do a jump between the different files. Although, to be honest, I much prefer this because there's something nice about being able to jump to either a particular text element or jump to like actually through the project structure. You see I'm working on something here called a memento builder, So yeah, that's I think that's basically it. So long story short, I think demonstrating all of this might sort of get in the way of the other things that we talk about. If you do want to jump into your own version, the TLDR, like I said, it's basically multiple desktops. So I just keep everything running on a different desktop, and then I jump between them as I need to. So if I want to jump to Eagle, I can look at my wallpapers, and then maybe I want to pick something from the fonts folder. I can jump over to fonts, and these all have their own shortcuts, as you can imagine. Each tool has its own particular way of navigating and working. Like I can jump into these commands, or if I'm back over in Obsidian, I can have all of its settings modified over here. Yeah, I think that's, oh, actually one other thing. If I'm over in my Spotify configuration, what's cool is because it's using a Chromium front end, the same rules apply here, right? So I can control, if I wanted to jump to a different thing over here, if I wanted to sort of navigate to any of the individual components, I can hit the appropriate shortcut. Oh, and that also applies here. I think I showed that, but a better example is probably TV shows. So I'm running an MB server, and that means that I can do the same thing. I can select something, and I could say, let's have a look at the new Penguin show, and oh, Colin Farrell, what's he been working on? Well, I can press FK, and then I can jump into his stuff. And what have I got in my collection that he has been in? Yeah, that's pretty much it. So yeah, leave it up to you. Is that too much to cover? And again, my vote is I don't want people to be too distracted asking questions about individual key bindings and choices over the actual content I'm trying to cover. Quick addendum, I completely forgot to mention File Explorer. So I normally navigate sort of basic stuff through Vim. So if I just open up the native directory and hide the excess stuff, you can see that I can sort of navigate here, and I've got a bunch of different directories like my projects, and I can then jump into an individual project and navigate here. And if I was, this is a short story I was writing, which I think I showed over in the Obsidian portion over here. So if I'm over on this side and I want to do something else, so I can navigate around here. I can even do splits, like I said, and I can maybe open up navigation on this side and then keep the terminal open on the other side, and do different stuff there. So this works. You can kind of navigate this way. Same with like searches. I've got a directory, and you can even do like new files and stuff. But obviously that's not ideal. So there are cases you do want a visual editor, and for that, what I'll usually use is, if I minimize that, I have my File Explorer, and I use this one here called Directory Opus. But as you can probably imagine, I like to treat this similarly. So I turn off a lot of the features and buttons and stuff, and what I do is I navigate this with keyboard shortcuts as well. So this is my standard home directory, but if I go to the PC, this is sort of the main PC drive. It's got the local disk and a bunch of shared directories over on my network storage. And what I can do is I can jump between those individual network storage drives if I want to, and that just gives me kind of a quick shortcut. I can also move to that primary directory or in the app data directory, where you'll often find configuration files. Like, for example, all of the Vim configurations are over here in my Lua plugins. And if I wanted to work with these, I can do something very similar, where I can create new tabs. I can then jump to a different directory, and if you look at the bottom there, you'll see I can kind of bounce back and forth between different directories. And let's say I was in my downloads directory, and imagine I had some files here, and then I wanted to head over to, say, drive. Let's go to Windows key. Wrong button. So let's say I was over here and I wanted to go to my clear drive. Let's go Orion, right? So I'm in Orion and I've got downloads here, and I want to jump between them. What I can do is, because they're different tabs, you can move them around. You can basically make new windows if you like, but that's not ideal, right? What you'd prefer to be doing is, if you hit this button, it gives you a split, and I can go over to my downloads directory here, and I could theoretically move files back and forth between them. Obviously, if I bring up a different directory, there you go. There's sort of, I can go to my work directory or my emulation. I can sort of move files back and forth. And this has a whole lot of extra features I won't bore you by going into, but one thing that is cool is, because it works with a lot of customizations, I can go to, say, that my movies directory, and I can sort of scroll through it, and it